24 riders then come to the grid for Chapter 11 in this gripping title chase in the 2024 MotoGP World Championship. A rather pensive-looking Davide Tardozzi watches on. It's in the hands now of his star, Pecco Bagnaia. Green flag clears. It's lights out, and we are racing in MotoGP here in Austria. Jorge Martin's made a great start from pole position. Marc Marquez is going wrong the wrong way. He tangles with Frankie Morbidelli in the braking zone up the hill. Marquez botched the start, and he's almost at the back of the field here, tangling with Frankie Morbidelli. Drama then for the 8 times world champion, and it's Martin though that leads.
Yeah, Marquez is in around 13th or 14th, I think, 'cause he's just up behind Pedro Acosta, I think. There is the 93, just up behind one of the track goes Aprilia's 13th position for Marc Marquez. A disastrous start for him.
Yeah, just did not get the launch away at all, did he? The two factory Aprilias, Aleix Espargaro and Maverick Vinales, getting close, at close quarters into turn 3. Marquez then way back in 14th place. He came through sector 1.
Look who's up to 3rd, Enea Bastianini, who made a very good start yesterday, but then botched the chicane on the first lap. He's certainly not made that mistake this time, and that will be a warning for Jorge Martin and Pecco Bagnaia. The beast is already right behind them. Well, the thumb certainly didn't give Martin problems getting off the line this time, did he? He kept the lead from Pecco Bagnaia, but for how long can he keep it? Bagnaia wants it straight away as they hit the brakes for the first corner at the start of lap 2, and Pecco Bagnaia takes the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix.
Now, it was right here on the run down on lap 2 into 2A in the sprint yesterday where Martin went in too hot. Surely a safer approach, a more conservative approach this time around. That is exactly what he adopts, but it is Bagnaia then, as he did at the start of lap 2 yesterday, that hits the front for the first time in this Grand Prix. Marc Marquez from 3rd to 13 on a disastrous first lap for the Spaniard.
Here's the race start as Marc Marquez is just getting himself ready to get that Ducati off the line. He already got the start wrong, as you mentioned, and then made contact with Morbidelli on their way up to turn 1. You can see the 93 just in the middle of the picture. Miller's already way past him, and then as Morbidelli and Marquez both going for the same line, contacts between the right arm of Morbidelli and the left of Marc Marquez, and both of them go off.
Scary, that one, really scary. We're on board with Marquez then. Look at that, he just did not get away at all. Straight away, the GP24's rocketed away from him. Jack Miller's come through as well. Simon, you'd have been a close observer on that one. Just sorry, Martinez attack. We'll go down to Simon very quickly. Martin attacked briefly on the inside of Bagnaia into turn 9, running a little bit wide. Bagnaia just hugged the inside line, squeezed back on through into the lead. We'll let the riders come down this start finish straight before we go down to Simon. Bagnaia then, being really aggressive, being really hard, being really tough, as he knows he has to. He does not want to sit behind Martin and have worries and concerns about his front tyre pressure, his front tyre temperature. Simon, down to you for some thoughts on the Marquez incident.
Yeah, well, when you pull up to the line before the start, you have to use the brakes hard. That's why you see them stoppy and engage the front device. Marx was not engaged.
Yeah, thanks for that, son. We saw him, then we're struggling to keep that front wheel down as he powered out of first gear. So, shocking start for Marc Marquez.
Jack Miller continuing to do a good job of holding his teammate back. Aleix Espargaro, though, trying to hold his teammate back, but Maverick Vinales left his braking a little bit too late into turn 3, and that's the easiest 8th place that Marc Marquez has ever taken.
That is the best ever race lap here at the Red Bull Ring, set by Jorge Martin.
Here comes
as Miller.
Yeah, Binder gone through, and Miller's now coming back at Brad Binder. So Miller on the inside of Binder. It's KTM versus KTM. They better be careful, though, not to run into each other, but also they're putting themselves under pressure from Marco Bezzecchi. Great battle this between Bezzecchi and Miller. They've swapped places 3 or 4 times now in the last half a lap. We're on board with Marc Marquez. He's been gifted 8th place by one Aprilia. He's now trying to take 7th place from the other one. We're on board with Aleix Espargaro looking back at Marc Marquez, who didn't make the same mistake as Vinales a lap ago. Marquez now up into P7.
Bagnaia versus Martin. This is some battle. Just look at the left-hand side of your picture there. How grey and dark has the sky gone compared to the blue skies of the right-hand side. As Marquez, he had to check up there. There was almost contact with his front tyre, with Jack Miller's rear tyre. That's cost him 30 or 40 metres, hasn't it? Aleix Espargaro now coming right back into contention. You do worry about those rather threatening clouds off in the distance.
Marquez is hoping that they come this way, I think, just to bring him into contention in this race, given the time he lost earlier on. And yeah, Bastianini might be hoping for some rain himself later on, because he can't get into the 129s any longer. He's now 2 seconds off the race lead. We saw from on board Marc Marquez how close it got. His right arm hit the rear tyre of Jack Miller.
Yeah, getting up close and personal with a factory KTM and a Michelin rear tyre there, wasn't he?
And you look at the pace that the rest of the field are doing. The next fastest rider on track at the moment is doing what? Oh, Jack Miller down. Miller out of 6th place.
Miller's gone down in the chicane. Well, he was fighting a good fight to keep the likes of Marc Marquez, the factory of Aprilia, the latest Spargo, and Vinales behind him. But trail breaking into 2A he goes. And it's not to be, unfortunately, on the exit for Miller. He got the tap from Marquez's right elbow on the previous lap, and just defending resolutely to try and hold on for a double top 6 here this weekend, which would have been some result for Miller. Unfortunately, he's crashed out of contention. That has now then, of course, promoted Marquez up into P6. No further action taken, as we kind of suspected it was. A racing incident, just 2 riders merging onto the same piece of tarmac up the hill in the first corner. The incident, of course, referencing Marc Marquez and Frankie Morbidelli. So no further action from the FIA and MotoGP stewards. Certainly the correct call, you feel?
Well, Marc Marquez is looking to try and elbow his way past Marco Bezzecchi, and Marquez makes the move from quite a long way back. But I think Marc Marquez's patience had finally ran out and decided he had to just send a lunge at the inside of Marco Bezzecchi and take the decision out of his hands. Marquez now up into 5th place.
Yeah, here he comes from a long, long way back. Bezzecchi tries to defend, but there's just nothing he could do. Marquez had seized the initiative with the inside line, and that was all she wrote as far as 5th place was concerned. Here is the South African sideways style on the factory KTM down the hill into turn 4. You can just see, having been passed by Marc Marquez on the previous lap, here goes Marquez trying to use the element of surprise on the inside of Binder. Binder runs in hot, he runs in wide, and Marquez goes through. So Marquez then, some rescue this has been. He was 14th in Sector 1 on the first lap after the problems off the line. And here we are, just over the halfway point. Wrestled his way, muscled his way back inside the top 4.
Not the most common overtaking place here at the Red Bull Ring. KTM might be asking how Brad Binder allowed that one to happen, but Marc Marquez was just coming through, whether Brad Binder liked it or not. So into the final corner, we now have 10 laps to go. Marc Marquez has got an awful lot of empty tarmac ahead of him. He's going to make any further progress from there. You can see how much darker it is now, though, now on the start-finish straight. That big black cloud immediately ahead of us. Marc Marquez is the best part of 9 seconds behind Enea Bastianini, but if it does rain in these latter stages, then all bets are off.
Seems like only the weather gods can stop Pecco Bagnaia then now from continuing in this phenomenal run of form here in Spielberg. Winner of the last 2 Grand Prix, winner of the last 2 sprints, and on course for yet another hat-trick. Out of the final corner he goes, into the shade of the main grandstand. Nobody has been close to his shadow so far here today. Boy, Martin ran him close for the first 10 laps, but from thereafter, it's been another brilliant performance by Bagnaia. Although to his credit, Martin is still fighting hard. High 130 from him on that last lap, sees the gap cut to 1.8 seconds. 5 points will split Bagnaia and Martin at the top of the leaderboard. 61 behind Bagnaia would be Enea Bastianini. You do feel that this is sort of emerging, unfolding into a 2-horse showdown once again, just as it was last season between Pecco Bagnaia and Jorge Martin. Factory Ducati versus top independent Ducati. Some battle it was last year. They went all the way down to Wire in Valencia. Let's hope history repeats itself in 2024 once again. 2 to go then for Bagnaia. 1.8 seconds clear of Martin in second.
Maverick Vinales looks to have won that battle of the factory Aprilias now. He's nearly 2 seconds clear of Aleix Spargo, who appears to be really struggling late on. Aleix Spargo is back in the 132s. He's got Frankie Morbidelli all over him for 8th place. So Maverick Vinales, after a tough sprint yesterday, at least he's redressed the balance within the factory Aprilia team.
Yeah, looks like it'll be a 7th place at best for Vinales. Marco Bezzecchi, a welcome return for top 6 for the Italian. It'll be his first top 6 since his Spanish Grand Prix podium in Jerez, right at the start of our European campaign as Pol Espargaro. That's not going to work out, Paul. Doesn't matter how hard you try and enter 2A that way, it just is not going to happen. And of course, having taken that shortcut, he'll be mindful that he has to then lose a second in that sector or the very next sector. And that's going to potentially cost Pol Espargaro a top 10 in KTM's home Grand Prix here today.
Yeah, not only has Alex Marquez now got ahead of him, but Miguel Oliveira has too. Pedro Acosta is 3.5 seconds further back down the road, so he shouldn't be a problem for Pol Espargaro. Acosta 13th and Augusto Fernandez in 14th place. We're looking back then from Aleix Espargaro. A lap and a half for him to hold on from Frankie Morbidelli. Morbidelli was able to come home in 6th place in the sprint yesterday. Can he snatch 7th on this final lap?
Pecco Bagnaia then starts a final lap here in Spielberg with a commanding 2.2 second advantage over Jorge Martin. It has been another Bagnaia masterclass here in front of the Austrian fans. He tips into the chicane 2A and to be completed. It's not to be for Jorge Martin today here in Austria. He's going to have to settle for another second place. He spent so much of this weekend pressuring, chasing, ultimately coming up short behind Pecco Bagnaia, who is going to seize the outright lead in this year's MotoGP World Championship. 5 points he will sit clear heading to Aragon in 2 weeks' time. 7 corners remaining from the world champion, and more brilliance here in Spielberg.
Just shows the level that the rest have got to try to reach to take this world title away from Pecco Bagnaia. Back-to-back world championships in 2022 and 2023. And on this kind of form, it's going to take something truly heroic from Jorge Martin to deny him a hat-trick.
Through turn 8, Bagnaia goes. Ducati are going to be on cloud 9. It's their 9th success in 11 Grand Prix here at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. And their current superstar, their current world champion, their star rider out of the final corner. It is more glory in Spielberg, more glory at the Red Bull Ring for Pecco Bagnaia. He takes the double here in Spielberg for the 2nd season in a row. He is now your outright leader in this year's World Championship. He took the checker flag, 3.2 seconds clear of Jorge Martin. Back-to-back second places for the Spanish rider. Fabio Wibner, 3-star rider, waving the checkered flag as Enea Bastianini does take a very lonely 3rd place. And on the podium for the Beast after his double success at Silverstone, Marc Marquez was 4th, but he paid a heavy price for the issue off the line, which dropped him all the way back to 14th place.